Hey, what's going on, guys? The Horror Man back with my review of Fatal Nightmare. Fatal Nightmare is a 1991 Mexican slasher film. Its Spanish title is Pesadilla Fatal. It is included here on this 4-movie collection. I also have a solo release of the film coming in the mail, but since I just watched it, I wanted to review it now while it's fresh on my mind. Fatal Nightmare stars Mexican actress and singer Tatiana. She also starred in Vacation of Terror 2, which I recently reviewed. In that movie, she played Myra. In this one, she plays a young woman named Marisol, who witnesses the brutal murder of her father. The killer wears a glove with razor blade fingers. Yes, like Freddy Krueger in A Nightmare on Elm Street. And yes, like the killer in Trampa Infernal, another Mexican slasher film I reviewed last year during the Slashback Challenge. Who knew razor gloves were so popular in slasher films? And to think, up until about a year ago, I thought it was only the weapon of choice of Freddy. But the killer in Fatal Nightmare also uses the razor glove to slash up Marisol's father. Marisol runs towards her father's screams for help, and she makes it to him before the killer can leave the scene. The killer even touches Marisol with the murder weapon. She's the only eyewitness to the horrific murder. The problem is, she's blind. She stared directly into the killer's face, but couldn't see a thing. Luckily for her, the killer leaves, and Marisol is left crying over the body of her dead father. Of course, the cops are called, and a lieutenant is on the case. The lieutenant also requests the assistance from a criminal psychologist. Edgar, the criminal psychologist, meets with Marisol. She closes her eyes and tries to remember the night of her father's murder. She describes to Edgar every detail, what she felt and what she heard. She heard the sound of scraping and scratching metal. This was the sound of the razor glove, right before her father was killed. Marisol then heard the same exact sounds at the funeral, and is convinced the killer was there. But again, no one else was around at that moment. Now that her father has died, Marisol lives with her mother and a maid. Despite being blind, she is fairly independent and knows her way around the house. So when the furniture is suddenly moved, she becomes cautious. Sure enough, the killer has returned to toy with her. Because of this, the lieutenant stations 2 officers outside Marisol's house. Edgar continues to work with her as well, and is quickly falling for her. Then Marisol is attacked at home. Somehow the killer got by the guards. But when Edgar and the officers inspect the house, there is no one to be found. Edgar begins to suspect that Marisol is experiencing some sort of neurosis from the trauma of witnessing her father's death. But Marisol insists she is not crazy. Others around her are killed off as the lieutenant continues his search for the maniac. I seem to be on a Mexican horror kick right now, particularly Mexican slashers. There's something about them. They don't look or feel like American slashers or other slashers for that matter. They almost have a daytime soap opera look to them. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I don't really know how to explain it. They are what they are, and they're awesome. Fatal Nightmare is at the same time a suspenseful yet fun slasher film. Marisol has a wholesome, likable innocence to her, and she's a great final girl. The fact that she's blind adds a whole nother level of intensity to the movie. It's unique that she witnesses the murder at the start of the film, but can't do anything about it because she can't see. The razor blade glove, while extremely similar to Freddy Krueger's, is not exactly the same, and it's cool. I really like the setting, which is mainly Marisol's house. There's a really creepy sequence in the film, featuring an eerie song playing during a flashback. The whole scene is unsettling. There's a weird color tone to it too, giving it a surreal feel. It works, because that scene is meant to be sort of a daydream. I also love the score of the film. It's simple, but effective. And Fatal Nightmare has a fantastic reveal when we find out the identity of the killer. I decided to watch this one on a whim, and I'm really glad I did. Have you seen Fatal Nightmare? If so, what do you think of it? Comment below and let me know. Thanks for watching, guys. Be kind. Subscribe.